Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. I'm so happy to be here this morning with my emergency management colleagues from across the country. This was the second worst wildfire season in Canadian history, and each of us has seen the toll that disasters and extreme weather can take on Canadians in every part of the country. Before the mid-90s, Canada had just 3 disasters that caused over $500 million in damages, but today we're seeing disasters of that scale almost every year. And of course, we know that these events test our capabilities to respond and to recover. And the imperative to work together to keep Canadians safe has never been more important. That's really what brings us here today. And while this season has had so many challenges, the foundation of cooperation already exists, and it's something that we can build upon. In my first summer as Minister of Emergency Management, we approved over a dozen requests for federal assistance to send help where it was needed the most. Provinces and territories stepped up to send firefighters, water bombers, whatever was needed to help other jurisdictions who required it. Yesterday, we had really important conversations with national Indigenous organizations representing First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. And we talked about how these events can so acutely affect their communities and how we can better partner with them to respond. We need a really Team Canada approach, and I know my colleagues share the same fundamental objective. Nous voulons assurer la sécurité des Canadiens et les Canadiennes. Nous voulons protéger nos communautés et notre pays. And to make sure that when disasters happen, the response is swift and our communities are able to recover quickly. And, from a federal perspective, that's exactly the signal that was sent in Budget 2025. Emergency management is a priority of our government. We're investing more than $350 million to strengthen Canada's emergency management system, from modernizing the National Public Alerting System to investing in additional water bombers to strengthen firefighting capacity across the country. We're also creating the Youth Climate Corps, and this will train young Canadians to serve their country in times of crisis. And in reward, they'll get hands-on experience in preparation and in recovery and in resilience. And that's really just the start. I'm very committed to working on ways to keep strengthening the emergency management response, really in a way that complements the critical work that provinces and territories and Indigenous leaders and all local communities already do to respond to emergencies. When we meet to talk about how each of us manages this changing landscape, it's clear that none of us works in isolation. In times of crisis, governments, communities, and Indigenous partners all step forward, and we help one another. That's really what Canadians do best. So, these last couple of days of meetings are about deepening the cooperation and ensuring that every community, no matter how small, no matter how remote, has the tools and the support that it needs to stay strong. That's why we'll be working together to renew Canada's emergency management strategy with a new focus on building resilience from the ground up. As Canada's first ever Minister for Community Resilience, this is a mission of mine. We need to build a national culture of resilience. And from what I saw around the table in our discussions yesterday, this is really a shared ambition across provinces and territories and across our country. With hazard seasons, be it fires or floods or hurricanes, starting earlier and lasting longer and challenging our available resources, we really do need to think long term, and we have to build resilience into how we live, how we plan, and care for one another. En conclusion, je tiens à remercier nos équipes d'intervention en cas de catastrophe pour tous leurs efforts et leurs sacrifices. The message we want to collectively send to Canadians is clear. We have to keep working together to build stronger, safer, and more resilient communities across our country. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Well, good morning. Thank you for everyone for coming today. I'm honored to be here alongside my federal counterpart and co-chair, Minister Olszewski, as well as my fellow ministers from across Canada. It has been a pleasure to co-chair this meeting and host my colleagues here in Ontario to discuss a topic that touches all of us: safety, emergency preparedness, and resilience. As we look around, we see a world that is changing in complexity. New technologies, evolving risks, and the evolution of natural disasters demands that provinces and territories remain safe, practiced, and prepared at all times. But they also present new opportunities in innovation, collaboration, and resilience building. By embracing these challenges, we can strengthen our preparedness, enhance our capacity building, and foster more sustainable communities. Let me start by emphasizing that collectively, all of us see the critical importance of having a comprehensive emergency management strategy. It's not enough to respond to a crisis. We must ensure that we are always ready to act before, during, and after an emergency. Maintaining a robust and dynamic plan ensures all of our governments, businesses, and the people of Canada can weather the storms that come our way, whether they are natural disasters like wildfires or floods, or new and emerging hazards. But resilience isn't just about weathering the storm. It's about building up our communities. And that's what our discussions are focused on, making sure that we continue to grow, adapt, and prosper despite the challenges we are facing. As we look to the future, we must be prepared for those new and emerging hazards that are often interconnected. An incident in one part of a province can trigger cascading effects everywhere. This summer's wildland fire season is just one example of our interconnectivity. One of the greatest strengths we have in addressing these challenges is collaboration. No matter how advanced a province or territory can be, we must collaborate, share best practices, and build networks of support, both within our provinces and territories and beyond. Equally important is our collaboration with Indigenous communities. Yesterday, we had a very productive meeting with leaders of the Assembly of First Nations, Métis Nation Council, and Inuit Tempirit Kanatami, as well as Minister Galmasti, to discuss shared priorities. These communities have a wealth of knowledge built on generations. It's essential that we work in partnership with Indigenous communities, respecting their wisdom and ensuring Indigenous-led approaches are part of our strategy. To be truly resilient, emergency management must reflect the diversity of our local communities, their needs and challenges. The plan must be adaptable, rooted in cooperation at every level, and that includes citizens, the private sector, Indigenous partners, and of course, all levels of government. Today, my fellow ministers and I will discuss how each of our respective jurisdictions responded to the many emergencies that challenged us this past year. They were significant, but so too is our collective ability to work together. We all recognize that we need to embrace preparedness, collaboration, and resilience, both in policy and in practices. At the end of the day, we want to build communities that are not only capable of surviving the emergency, but are stronger because of them. I look forward to another day of productive discussions about how we can protect our provinces and territories for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We will start the press conference, so the question period. So it's going to be one question, one follow-up. Please state your name and your outlet before asking your question. We're going to start in the room. If there's any question, you can go to the mic just over here. So we'll pass on Zoom. So I think you need to raise your hand, and after that, you can. And when you get you can ask your question. Thank you. We'll do a last call for questions. If not, we're going to close this press conference. The Hill time.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you so much, ministers, for taking our question today. I wanted to get more details on the strategy that you mentioned. Could you tell us more about the timeline that you guys that you're looking at and what the strategy would entail? If you can shed a little light on what exactly its objectives are.
So with respect to the emergency management strategy, this is something that provinces, territories, the federal government has had in place for a number of years now. And it's basically a framework, it's a set of principles that we all agree are fundamentally important for us to consider when we're dealing with emergencies. And so we need to update this strategy to reflect the changing times and to reflect how disasters have changed our communities, to reflect how we understand more where our weaknesses are, where our gaps are. And really, it's an updating of a strategy that already existed. And so that's part of what our group will be working on starting yesterday, but also into today. I would like to mention, just in terms of things that we want to accomplish right away, as I said, the federal government has shown its commitment to strengthening our federal emergency management system, firstly by investing in the leasing of water bombers, which will do over the next foreseeable future. What we saw this past fire season is some inability for some jurisdictions to respond as quickly as they could have. We move equipment between jurisdictions, and I think these extra water bombers will help us strengthen how we can respond in various communities, provinces, and territories across the country. So that's one aspect. And then I mentioned the national alerting system as well, which is something that we're working on at the present time. So there are many steps that the federal government, provinces and territories, as well as local communities are taking now and continue to, and some that are a bit longer term, medium to longer term, that we'll continue to build on. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, yeah, that was what I wanted to know. Thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you. iPolitics.
Hi there. I just wanted to ask if there's been any discussions about the possibility of a national firefighting force during these meetings.
And I'm sorry, the term that you used was agency?
Pardon me?
because there's some confusion sometimes around terminology and what exactly we're referring to. So what I can tell you is, and building on what I've said in earlier months through the wildfire season, the federal government's looking at a variety of different options, other things it can do to strengthen emergency management. And certainly from my perspective, I know that part of what my role will be giving consideration as to whether or not we should put in place a national emergency management agency. Absolutely.
Any follow-up?
No, thank you. Thank you.
No more questions? Okay, well, this and this press conference. Thank you everyone for coming, and we'll continue our meetings. Thank you.